you ready to learn and experience the process of becoming a Medicare machine?
What's up? Welcome to the 1% Top 1% podcast. Got one of a few guests on so far. I'm sure the rest will jump on here momentarily. I'm really excited for this episode. I'm going to drop the heat. I got my good friend Matthew Murray on. Medicare Bob's supposed to join, and then Tyler should be jumping on too. But today's topic, it's kind of a clickbait title of sorts. But I want to go through the information because I think it's needed in this industry badly, in that most people aren't really told the whole story of how an upline works, what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. It's so Medicare Bob just sent me a message. He's got an update going on his computer, but he'll be jumping on momentarily. But yeah, we're what I want to do is I want to help those of you out there who are maybe considering or looking at or thought about, like, am I getting what I'm supposed to get? And so I kind of want to just kind of go through. I'm not looking to throw people under the bus here. I'm not looking to like name names necessarily. That the people want to hear that part of it because of the sizzle part. What I can tell you is every single upline I've had has had some commonalities in them. Every single upline I've had has been a stepping stone, right? And so we all want a stepping stone in our career. And the reality is this is not like professional sports where you can like retire your jersey in the rafters of your upline, okay? There's probably not going to be you're probably not going to have your jersey retired. You're probably not going to have a parade. And for most insurance agents, there's not a cash out. There's not an end point that you have this big event at the end for some. But for most of us, it's a journey just trying to get to upper middle class, right? And I think that's for most of us. That's the journey for most of us. Because when I started in this business, my goal was $10,000 a month. In my mind, that was like a third of my income for the year that I was making. And I thought, if I could just get to $10,000 a month, everything would change, which in some respects it did, but it just meant that the game was beginning. And I was now at the bottom stair of the next challenge mountain, if you will. And I think most of the changes that I've made in my upline have honestly, for the most part, become because I outgrew my upline faster than they could support. And so their bandwidth wasn't in the same trajectory as where I was trying to go. Their bandwidth wasn't designed for the rapid growth. I mean, I experienced over 100% year-over-year growth for the first 5 years. And for most, that's not a predictable path. But when you grow that fast, the reality is you probably need new and different types of support. So I got Matthew. Depends on who you're talking to. I got Mr. Medicare Bob. What do you guys think about uplines? And I think both of you have been on pretty much some of the biggest powerhouse agencies in the country, and have either gone independent or we've had different situations. But just kind of let you give your take on upline changes real quick.
Yeah. Hey guys. So when I think, can you guys hear me? Okay. Sorry, I'm from home today. I don't think you. My computer, of course, does an update 2 minutes ago, so I apologize. But I caught most of what you were saying. I think it's important, and to your point exactly, something I've learned about distribution is this industry is built on a lot of people that do 50 to 100 apps a year, and they're very content with that, and they build their book. And so to your point, that level of support is going to be very different for someone like you that has more ambitious goals than that. For some people, it's a lifestyle business. For some people, they have exit strategies in mind. They want to grow. People like myself that are broken, like you guys that like to do this all the time. I personally break the upline into 3 categories. I think there's a marketing organization, which is an upline. Then there's like an agency, an agent builder, and then there's controlled distribution. So Matt, if you don't mind, I'll kind of expand on those 3 definitions, and I'd love to get your take, and you too, Josh. But like, to me, a marketing company, they're someone that has proprietary products, contract levels that you can earn and move up, but you're talking to somebody that has access to, they should have, a marketing company should have contract knowledge, carrier website portal knowledge, industry knowledge. They're going to train you on the product, but they're not necessarily going to train you on how to go and get in front of somebody or give you agent tools currently to go get, to help you actually run an agency or grow your business. They're going to give you the product knowledge. And then they have that 80-20 rule where every 100 agents they get, 20 have the product, learn the product knowledge from the marketer, and then they go out, write business. And then as they write more business, they get higher contract levels because they need less support from the marketer. Then you have the agency and agency builder, which is someone like probably you, Josh, someone like Justin Brock, Josh Lustig, somebody who has an agency. They've done it before. They went from agent to agency owner, and now they're an FMO because of their production levels and what they've learned. So what they do is they typically will share the solutions to the problems that they encountered as they were growing their business, which is beneficial for somebody who wants to kind of do what you're doing, right? And grow and expand. So an agency agent builder is going to be very different than a marketer. A marketer usually never sold insurance before, but they're valuable to, and there's value in all three different types of uplines in my perspective, depending on what's right for you. So an agency builder is someone who's done it before. And then there's the control distribution, where a lot of people online really, I think, disrespect, I'll just say shit on LOAs, like it's a bad thing a lot of times. And I get where they're coming from. Like that's the independent agent that's like, don't give up your contracts and your commissions. But there's a lot of really successful control distribution. I would, career agencies, call centers, people that make 140 grand a year. And when you're in control distribution, the expectation is, you should have some type of salary or, an advance, a draw. But you're going to get the marketer side where you get all the product knowledge and everything. You get the agency and agent builder, but you are trading lifetime wealth typically for that type of, you're going to get a lot of support. You might have a sales manager, you're going to have agent tools as well, but it's owned by somebody and you're an employee working for somebody, which for a lot of people, that's 100% okay. Right. So, I think I'll close with there's three different types of, I put them in three buckets, and I've seen good ones in each bucket and I've seen bad ones in each bucket, but that's how I kind of classify it in my head.
Dang, what did you want me to say? You guys said everything at this point, so I can't even keep up. How do I sound? I'm trying a new mic.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds bombing.
Yeah, Medicare Bob, I appreciate you being on the call, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Joshua Young's absolute legend in the business. When I first met Josh, I could see him smoldering without the office. I can see him taking everything in at one time. He's got a mind like nobody else. So I appreciate being on the call. And Medicare Bob is right. IMO stands for Independent Marketing Organization, right? And so you have to be able to provide marketing and marketing support and be independent in that marketing. I think a lot of times people create their IMO and then they set up different opportunities from other people to do the marketing for them. Well, that's not a marketing organization. And, both you guys are right too. It's like the person that you decide to align with, they have to have something that you haven't, like you're about to go through. You're at that point where you're about to go through something and they have already done it, and they're going to green light or they're going to gaslight what you're about to go through. I recently made my decision and I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I need from these people, and this is what I've decided. And then once you make that decision, and Josh was great about this too, is like, you're all in. Once you're in, you're in. And then you can't look back after you made my decision, or after you made a decision, go, well, maybe I can go talk to this person, because it's really nice being the hot girl in the industry and being wooed by everybody and fake dinners and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to make a decision and you got to move on with your business. And those marketers, the people that are really good at marketing, they're going to bring a different level of value than someone who's built a massive organization who is getting you to the next level. My dog's crying, so I think my wife is home, so you're probably going to hear that in the business. But choosing your upline is so important in this business, in believing and trusting what they're telling you to do, and just do it, because then you're going to have massive success. And what I've found to be weird in this industry is once you align yourself with somebody, they automatically believe that you you're their agent for life, and that's not true. I had many conversations and saying, hey, we're going to work together for a long time, and hopefully one day I'll be able to move direct. And when I'm ready to move direct, I hope that we can facilitate that. And that's what you want in an upline, someone that says, hey, we're going to make money together, and eventually we're going to help you get to the next level. And if you can do that, you can make a massive operation.
Well, you just said something too that is interesting. I think maybe be a good topic too, is why do FMOs and IMOs and everybody exist? That word direct. Why can't agents just go direct, right? And the reality is most agents are not successful. Most agents are not, it's the 80-20 rule, or as Cody would say, the 92% to 8% rule. So if, the carriers don't have the infrastructure to go and train a bunch of agents that then aren't going to be successful. That's why with all these CMS changes and stuff, people think, so Matt, we're just talking about how direct, right? Like, why can't agents just go direct?
Oh, yeah.
Because most agents aren't successful. So the carriers don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the infrastructure to train 1,000 agents and have 200 make it and 800 not. So that's why we exist, is because we sell insurance better than them, which is why this idea that they're trying to cut out IMO and FMOs. That's not what they can't. They don't have they don't have the infrastructure. There's a lot of work that goes into being an IMO, FMO, agency builder, or control distribution, that if you think about it, and then Josh, I'll get your thoughts. Right now, an FMO is a commission-only vendor to a carrier.
Right.
So we're going to go recruit, hire, train, be a therapist, to help people get in front of people, do grassroots marketing, do digital marketing, help them with direct mail and everything. And you as a carrier only have to pay us if that agent gets a sale. I would take that deal 100 out of 100 times. Imagine if we could, it's just like having an independent agent versus an LOA agent. An independent agent, there's less cash up front to get, if you're growing an agency, it's way cheaper to go hire a bunch of 1099 agents because they only eat what they kill, right? To where if you want to go hire, someone told me that day, I'm just going to do a 30-person call center. And I'm like, you're going to pay them salary? I'm like, okay, I've done that. That's not just, I'm going to go do that. That's very expensive and very hard, but if it's 30 1099 guys and you have a value prop to get them in the office, it's just a lot less expensive. So that's just so everyone on this call knows, because some people might ask the question, I just want to go direct. Why do I have to have an upline? It's because the carriers they don't have the infrastructure to take all the agents direct. Now, what's not fair to us, and I'll just share this, what stinks for AmeriLife or Integrity or anybody, if you guys, to your point, Matt, what stinks from my perspective sometimes, right, is we help somebody get there, and then when they get really big, then they go direct to the carrier. And I guess to your point, it's all about expectations. If the expectation on the front end, that's my goal and I'm going to do that, that's great. But we've even seen the carriers come in and actually offer that up to that person, and that person didn't even ask. And so that's where I'm sitting in a room with them come on, that's not, because you want the losers too, because we have to deal with that all the time. So sorry.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, I can tell you from the carrier standpoint, because at the later part of my career in that side of insurance is, they wanted all these directs, and there's a bunch of direct people going, and there's not enough employees at the carrier level to take the inbound calls from the agent going, how do I write an application?
Plus, they've never sold insurance.
Exactly. How do I do this? This is my first day. What do I do? And imagine going direct to the carrier, and then the carrier rep who gets paid, $145,000, $150,000 is going, yeah, so what you need to say is this. And it's a completely different mindset. And so what kind of leads do I need to buy? What are you talking about, man? I'm trying to look at these numbers and all that stuff. The carriers don't have the infrastructure to handle direct agents. So you need to have a marketing organization who is built and has done something of significance, and who has training platforms, who could, like Joshua, who can say, I can guarantee you anybody in the country, if they decide to work with Joshua and Joshua decides to work with them, that's an important part with Joshua. If he makes a decision to work with somebody, I can almost guarantee you that they have success, because he's going to
have the opportunity.
Right? They have the opportunity to do it. They can't. He can't go out and work for these people, right? but he's going to give them everything that they need to do to be successful.
And
Guaranteed.
Joshua, how did you find that out? By doing it, right?
Well, yeah, I came into the industry backwards. So I was a secretary at FMO, and then the next 10 years I was every position in an FMO except for contracting guy. And so I got an inside perspective of how to do the business before I hit the field. And so I had a different journey. And so when we do stuff like this and you're using comparison, and they say that comparison is the thief of joy, it's mainly because we all are going to take different paths to this business. And for most, they're starting at ground zero in the field, where I started at PhD level when I hit the field. And so it's just a different animal. And so I knew what I didn't know going into it is that the upline, depending on what my experience is, every upline so far on this side of it's been the same, is they'll let you run as far and as fast as you can. And they're not going to tell you how much money they're making along the way until you say something. And so that's the big problem. In the beginning, the first change I made, it was only because I felt underappreciated. I hit the field my rookie year. I did 300 apps in the first 6 months. I then doubled my production the next year. And I was hitting the leaderboards and all this other stuff. I didn't even get a fucking high five. And so I went and I asked for a bump up because I wanted to start building a team. I was just asking for a bump up so I had a little bit of overhead to play with and not my own money running the whole show. And basically, they looked at my production and they gave me a little tiny bump on one carrier. And they said, well, if you want to bump on any of these other carriers, you got to do more business with those carriers. And I was just like, huh? And so then I started to go around and I went to the first Medicare con. The reason I changed my contracts the first time is I went and sat in a room of other top professionals and I got to say, hey, how many apps are you doing? How many apps are you doing? And then what kind of support are you getting? And so I started to go through the room. My numbers of production were like 10 times everybody else's, and they're getting more and better support than I was. And so that's when I started to look the first time. And honestly, I should have taken a longer, more detailed approach my first move. Because if I would have done what I did the second time, which was go around the country and interview a bunch of people and let them tell me why I should be courted by them, it basically I was fortunate. I like the hot girl thing. I always use Peyton Manning effect. Like to me, who wouldn't want me on their team? That was my mindset both times. But both places I've been, every single place I've been literally the top independent broker of the entire channel. And so it's this last time when I moved, I ended up making 2 moves in 1 3-month period in essence. Because first I was going to move direct under one entity and have access to another. And then I ended up moving my whole thing under who I'm under now, which is Justin. And this is the caliber of experience I've had with Justin. Recently, I went to him, not him come to me. And I said, I think I'm getting too much of the pie. And in that process of me leveling up in contracts, I ended up, in essence, at the same level of contract as Justin had. And if I'm really honest with myself and I'm honest with the industry, I didn't do anything outside of my personal production to earn that. Like, I don't have a team of agents doing 5,000 apps a year, 10,000 apps a year, 20,000 apps a year. I just have me and a couple of other Spartan warriors that between the 3 or 4 or 5 of us, we're doing 2,500 apps a year with like 10 people, good. Right? Yeah. And so I get certain levels and certain things, but I went back and I said, Justin, you need to take some of the money back. I wanted him to have more skin in the game because I want more support as I go to this next phase, which is get out of the field. And if you out there watching right now, if you've never been top of the food chain producer, like the amount of basically at this point in my life, I have the ability, I don't want to say print money, but I can print money. At any point, I could just put my foot down and write 100 apps in a month if I wanted to. Easy. Just got to push down harder on the marketing and take away, because all the leads I generate, I give to my team. Like literally, I run my 1099 shop like most people run their LOA shop. My 1099 brokers are all getting free leads that I'm generating that are going into a CRM with automations, and they just sit at the bottom and wait. And so when I talk about uplines, first thing you got to do is evaluate where you're at. Where am I at? Take inventory of who you are. How much do I really produce? Because if you're producing 50, 75, 100, 200 apps a year, you're good, but you're not like top of the food chain, demand whatever you want good. And so in those kind of situations, if you want to get to that next level, you got to find someone like Justin or me or someone else that's gone through those phases that you're trying to go through, like Matt was saying. And that's really the journey. But what I learned along the way is people are going to pretend to like you. People are going to pretend to care. People are going to want you to think that, and they're going to say all the right things, and they're going to pretend to do all the right stuff. And then when the rubber hits the road, I found most of the time, most of the stuff is fluff.
Well, I think something you said too, just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, which I think is something everyone should understand too, is the reason that the contract levels should be tied to production. And the reason you're going to Justin and saying, hey, I want you to have more of an override in theory. The reason is as you do more production, in theory, you should need less support. Like, I'm not saying your production. I'm saying, like, if you're someone who, believe it or not, the agents that do 50 apps a year take up way more time than a lot of the agents that do 1,000.
Yes.
Because the thousands, they're going, they know what they're doing. These seasonal girls and guys that come in and just do AEP, they're out of touch. You know, they need to be reminded to do certifications, all these things. So if, you know, the reason that it's tied to production is because the more production you do, the less support you should need. Now, if you're working with an agency builder, right, like Joshua is with Justin, he's trying to get from 2,500 to 5,000 and to have, you know, 30 agents, 1099 agents doing it, and he can manage them. Because, by the way, we all want to stop selling insurance. We all get into insurance to eventually stop selling insurance because we like it, but it's way, at least my personality and most of the, what I call rainmakers in the industry, the guys that become leaders, is we love to sell insurance because we like the game. But once we've done it for 10 years, eventually we would like to have other agents that we're supporting selling insurance, right? I mean, that's what I heard you say. Like, that's a good goal to have. But I wish we could have contract integrity again. Like, I wish maybe this comes out of this. Like, I wish that every carrier had the same rules, because what happened was it became a bidding war, to your point, you know? And then so like the carriers would put levels up, and like, you know, some of them are pretty particular on that as far as what level you can get. But then what some people do is they just do pass-throughs. So you
under the table deals.
And then they give you a side check for $50. And that's not what it's intended to be, because there should be pride. Hey, I'm an MMO, like I'm an F, like there should be pride in those contract levels, and they should be earned based on volume and how much support's needed. But over the consolidation phases over the last 6-7 years, you know, there's groups that are just finding ways of the workarounds, which is why I said a lot of this stuff we brought on ourselves. Like Justin said, we need to start policing ourselves some, and I agree. But yeah, it's whoring out contracts sucks, because then it's, you know, you work with somebody for 2 years, get them to doing 1,000 a year, and that's taking a lot of effort. And then they talk to somebody else and they go, I'll give you that level. They come back and the guy's like, I can't give you that level. That's not allowed. How are they doing that? And then you find out, well, they're doing a pass through a separate pay cycle. So that stuff is unfortunate right now.
We've got a couple of questions, so let's go through this. We got one that says, at what level can an agent or agency go direct to the carrier? It's a big level. You got to be doing tens of thousands of apps a month to go correct with one of the big dogs. Like you can go, I'm direct with ClearSpring, but your smaller regional carriers will let you go direct. If you're talking like Humana, United, Aetna, Anthem, any of those big dogs, you got to bring some serious volume to the table before you can go direct.
Yeah, Aetna, correct me if I'm wrong, Medicare, Bob, is not just production, but number of contracted agents as well to get to the certain level.
There's several layers of metrics to get those big talk.
And you know, you mentioned earlier, Joshua, like it really is tied to that carrier. Like you're not supposed to be able to get an exception, which again, everybody, I've done it. Okay, you get a med sub producer, and they want to go to MA.
Yeah,
and they're writing
make an exception.
30,000 med subs. And so you go to the carrier and you're like, look, the potential of this is huge, right? So, but yeah, Aetna that is tied to RTS agents as well. And I will say this, Aetna, Frankie's, you know, Frankie, and I will say Cigna, and I like all our partners. Let me just do that disclosure first. But Aetna, Cigna, UHC, like once you get to like the top two levels, they are really like you have to really like have what's required. But
Performance metrics.
somebody else has that level and they just do a pass through anyway, so they get around that requirement, and that's where that's unfortunate.
Yeah, once upon a time there was like when I started the business, there was like 250 FMOs across the country for United, and then it was like 2010 or so they chopped it from that number down to like 7. And since then, there's been a few that have clawed their way back. But the carriers don't want 100 cooks in the kitchen. In reality, most of you watching this, you don't want to be an FMO, man. Even just getting to MGA level for most of you would blow your brain up. You'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because if you think being an agent and managing hundreds of clients is crazy, try managing 100 prima donna agents who all think they're the most important, who all think they're going to do everything. And it's really difficult process. We also have a question. I'm almost scared to answer this, but I said up front that I'm going to answer any and all questions openly. But this, just curious, I'm possibly fixing to do some business with CA in Missouri. Is that okay for marketing? Not calling one out, just know you've dealt with them in the past. Here's what I'll tell you. I would not hire someone else to do the marketing for me anymore at this point. What you should do is plug into one of my programs, one of Justin's programs, one of Josh Luss's programs, when any of these other people that are showing you the actual blueprint of how to do the marketing side of it. Because what I'll say is I spent more than a significant amount of money with the person you're referencing, both on their digital marketing side as well as other stuff. Did the value come back? I don't know. People know who I am a little more. So there's some merit and value to what I did, but most agents aren't going to have the amount of money. So Caleb, if you don't have $50,000 ready to go to throw at marketing, I wouldn't partner with someone like that. But if you have a budget, reach out to someone like me or Matt or Matthew Murray is one of the biggest wizards I know on taking a digital ad and funneling it into a CRM and turning it into a writable lead. And so plug into people like us who are wanting to do it and are actually in the field doing it. But most of these lead people, if you look at them, they're what I call failed agents that learn how to do a lead. And then instead of learning how to close the lead, they learn how to sell that lead to other people. And generating the lead, frankly, you guys, is the easy part. I finally, Justin, he just peeled the curtain back for half a second and I have like a photographic memory. And so he showed me one time what they were doing on Facebook ads. I applied that information in September. Some September through February of this year, I had this fire hose that I called because I was generating 650 veteran leads a month at $2 a piece, but they were just going into nowhere. And so I eventually had to get them that hose hooked to a CRM. That's half the battle. And now you got to get automations to go behind those to work those leads to a point where they're productive. And so, Caleb, my best advice to you is to invest into learning marketing yourself versus hiring someone else to create leads for you.
Correct. I'll further that because I'm somebody who invested highly into learning marketing myself. I would take every dollar that you can that you don't need to pay your bills and do anything else is just learn your own marketing and market yourself. Don't market your FMO. Don't market anybody but yourself. That is 100% the best thing I can tell you is market yourself, brand yourself, and put the marketing behind that. Because there's many companies that are named, like Kansas City Life is a life insurance company, right? Like what a weird name, but they crush business. It doesn't matter the name, right? Your name doesn't matter. Just make whatever name you want to put and then just run marketing behind it. Let people know what you do and fund money to it. You're going to get engagement. You're going to get people that know who you are. And when people reach out to you, that's the best lead that you can have. Guaranteed.
And the digital's what I think three of us are really good at. Like I taught guys, I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. You can watch YouTube videos. And honestly, Facebook, all these platforms want you to spend money on their platforms. So like it's pretty intuitive if you spend some time on it. And you're going to make a $3,000 mistake. Okay. But that's investing in the future you and your marketing. So I would second that. Marketing is everything to me, like lead generation. But that's digital. Facebook's relatively easy to learn. It really is. Google and Bing can be a little more complicated, but can also be simple. But even I would hire somebody who knows Google and Bing to teach you. Right? I mean, that's what I would spend my money on. And same thing with Facebook. Like, and that's what these guys do is they teach you how to do it. And then you can twerk it. Like Victoria, I think, took y'all's program and she's killing it with her webinar program. And then the other thing I was going to say is like, it doesn't have to be digital either. Like I know agents that still kill it with direct mail. They do handwritten notes. They buy machines that do it. They, you know, I just talked to this guy, Nathan Curry. He's awesome. He handwrite, him and his wife have an agency in Florida. They do 50 apps a month, which is great. He sends out 1,200 mailers a week that he handwrites, some of it. And he gets a 1% response, but it's cheap. And for 2 agents, his CPAs are good and he's eating. He's, you know, so there's that's also, sorry, like what is marketing? Get in front of physicians, get in front of diabetic groups, get in front of homeless shelter, like go feed the homeless. Like you really, this business is activity is marketing as well. So like everybody has 2 commodities. Last thing I'll say, because I tend to talk a lot, so I apologize, but every agent has 2 commodities when it comes to marketing. They have time and they have money. Well, when you first start out, you probably have more time than you have money. Well, there's plenty of marketing activities you can do with your time, right? And then as you build a book of business and you have more money to invest, then really what you do is you're spending money instead of your time to get in front of people.
And one of the best investments of time I've found for a new agent is to invest in your relationships with your local carrier reps, because they will give you money out the gate, not just time, and give you some advantages. They'll give you opportunities. We got another question. Jalan Scott, he's one of my favorite cats. He came to one of my workshops last year, and now thinking a couple of things that I gave him. He's now doing 40 to 50 apps a month. But he says, how much does my FMO make when I write an MAPD app? You're probably direct to the top. So they're probably making around two and a quarter.
175 to 2 and a quarter.
Yeah. It's depending on who they're under. I think you're under an integrity partner, if I'm right. So integrity is going to take a little off the top for their end. And then that usually leaves 175 to 215 in my experience. But if you're doing 40 to 50, that again, like I told you, that's why they're willing to pay $8,000 a month for all your marketing. Like any upline in the world, for someone that's going to consistently do 40 to 50 a month, would 100% pay $8,000 a month for marketing, and without dropping a hat. You don't have to be a 1099. You could be 1099, not have to be an LOA to do that. Right. So yeah, John, just keep leveraging stuff, and
that's a great deal. You know what I mean? Like write 50 a month in a year. You're writing 600 apps. You do that for a couple of years. I mean, you don't got to talk to anybody anymore.
Everybody's happy.
And everybody's taking care of marketing. I mean, that's a great deal. You know what I mean? You don't have to, the trick is if you don't want to have to worry about the marketing, you're going to give up some comp, right? And if you're giving a comp, make sure they're giving you some marketing. But when you become, higher up and you're doing more marketing yourself, that's when you're going to want to start to ask for more on the override or the marketing aspect of it. And that's where the things start to change. But like, even you, man, like just start investing in your own ads. I mean, you can go to facebookadlibrary.com, type in Medicare, and you're going to see a bazillion ads. And then you mimic it, master it, make it your own. Don't copy someone's ad, because then you're fighting against everybody else for the same freaking ad, right? You don't want to do that. But you can take an ad, copy it, right, and make it your own and start generating your own leads, and you're going to suck, but you're going to suck less over time. And then you're going to start putting them to a CRM, and you're going to start going through the client journey. And that's what I did. For years, I sat down with clients and was like, what made you fill this out? Like, what was the button? Was the picture? Was it this? Was it that? And then where were you sitting at? What were you thinking about? Those are the things that I think about marketing. And then once it happens, what happens after that? How many phone calls did you get? What is it like? What is the experience like for you? And I started to develop a client experience through a CRM. And that's what Josh was, talking about and referencing I learned how to do that. And that's what made a lead better. Like a lead's great, but a lead with automation is like golden. And that's the trick. So you can learn it over a 3 to 6 month period and be an absolute wizard.
100%. Great questions. So yeah, what I think would be the top 3 things I look for in an upline. I guess let's go through around the table and say top 3 things. So for me, I want to work with somebody who's done what I want to do. So when you're asking around, interview them, whoever you're talking to, like in my experience, most of the agent managers of the world are what I would call mid-level agents that got promoted. Like there's somebody that was doing 50 to 200 apps a year, got tired of the grind. Someone offered them a 10 W-2 position to come be agent manager. And you get some decent quality doing that sometimes. But in my experience, you want to ask the person who you're working with, when's the last time you were in the field? How many apps were you doing when you did it? How did you do those apps? And if those things don't match up with what you're trying to do, if you don't want to learn from somebody that only did 20 apps a month, if you're trying to get 50 apps a month, you got to find somebody in your upline who can give you access to what you want to become. The second thing is, in my opinion, for an upline, is you're looking for evidence of good culture, because I've with the culture, I've been fooled a couple times where people would pretend to care, pretend to like, pretend to appreciate the agent, and then you kind of see through. It's kind of like the meme that goes around for corporations that do pizza parties instead of raises. So there's some pizza party action out there. You got to watch out for it. Things like marketing dollars. Like, I wish I could tell everyone, but a lot of carriers, when you submit an app, your upline gets marketing dollars. And so they're just passing through money that should have gone to you anyway, but you didn't know about it, so they didn't tell you about it. It's kind of one of those things. If you don't know about it, you don't need to know about it. And so the marketing dollars are there if you're productive. But marketing dollars are also on the chopping block of this new final rule in some respects. And what I've learned in my career, when something's on the chopping block, this industry is very savvy, very smart. There's a lot of wealthy individuals with some really good lawyers, and they're going to figure out a way to legislate or vote or buy their way into a position where they can just keep doing what they're doing, just under a different pretense. Okay. And so marketing dollars will still exist. You just got to know where and how to ask for them. But so there's three phases of your income that you got to pay attention to as an agent. There's marketing dollars, there's your commission, and then there's override if you're going to build a team. And override is also called admin fee. And so you just got to make sure that all those three things are in alignment, and make sure you ask your peers before you go to uplines. What I mean by that is talk to other people that are at or around the same size as you and ask them what they're getting. So you get an idea of what's the market rate for who you are and where you're at, so that you're not you're not asking for too much like a jerk, and you're not undercutting yourself. Because if you're going to make this position, you want to make it as clean as possible to that level where you're not getting too much to where you're being greedy, and you're not getting undercut and not being given what you deserve. But there's that fine line. But those are the three things that I went into the process the second and third time around. Because the first time, honestly, I just wanted somebody who was going to pay me top contracts. So my first upline, they had good culture, okay support. They co-opt everything that I did. Like literally, I'd say I did business cards. You co-op me? Yes. They said yes to everything on co-op. They never said no to me until the very end when they ran out of money all of a sudden. So I had a good co-op, but no contract level. Then I moved to a place that gave me top of the level contracts. Like, I mean, that basically they put on the screen where they are, and they put me one ladder rung below them on every single thing, which is great for me. But then on the back end, there's no support. There's no money in their office to hire enough staff to support the number of agents they had. So all these promises they made to me during the recruiting process went unfulfilled, mostly because they just didn't have the staff. I don't think they were trying to like screw me over. They just grew too far too fast and didn't have enough bandwidth to support it. And so I went from tons of co-op, no contract, to top contracts, but no co-op and no support. And so the third move that I made, it was I wanted somewhere in the middle. I wanted okay, better than average contracts, but I learned about marketing dollars from my friend Frank the Tank. Shout out to Frank the Tank, because he's helped me learn more about this industry than pretty much anybody. He's been real and honest with me to learn things I didn't know. Even being an FMO for 15 years. I was in an FMO for 15 years, and I didn't know all this crap behind the scenes and how the money is shuffled around, and so that only certain people see the money. And then, so those are the big things. You want to have somebody that gives you, and I hear Josh Lustig go around. I'll give credit to Josh. be an and agent, do home life and build your business. Well, do the same thing when you're asking for contracts. Find someone who's going to partner with you to give you marketing money, co-op, and the top contracts possible. And they give you a clear path of how you can level up. Like if they can't tell you, you need to do 500 of this and 400 of that and this, and they can't give you clear metrics on how you're going to level up to the next levels. Just know you're entering into a glass ceiling that you're going to have to bust out of because they don't have a path for you. But what do you guys think would be your top three?
So yeah, I can do top three, and then I think this will help address a couple of the questions that are in there too. So my first thing is transparency. I want to, tell me what commissions am I earning now, and what volume do I have to do to get higher commission levels? I want to know what level of support am I going to get? Like, what's a SLA if I have a question? If I email you something, how soon till I get back? If I have a contract, if I have an agent that I'm onboarding or I'm adding a carrier personally, like what's the average SLA? How long is that going to take? Right? I want to know those things. And then I would keep track of that. And then if I submit a contract takes longer than that, then I'm going to make the person aware of it. Also, marketing co-op dollars. So I wouldn't be too hard on yourself, Joshua. From my experience, like 10 years ago, it wasn't like it was the last 5 years. I think it's really been something in the last 5 years that's been really more and more. But transparency and marketing dollars. So to answer your question, some carriers pay none. Some carriers pay $75 to $150 a sale on, but normally that's around AEP, and you get like a marketing tranche. So like your FMO, that should trickle down to you. So like you should be able to submit a business plan. Again, this is the way it's been the last couple of years. We'll see what happens the next couple. But the way it works now, to answer your question, Jacob, is, if you're somebody that has a business plan to write 200 apps, you should be able to go to your FMO and they say, okay, I'll give you $100 an app and I'll give you half now. And we'll check how you're doing November 15th. And as long as you're trending to your plan, then I'll give you the other half too. And the idea behind the marketing dollars is you market yourself and you add insurance sales through that. That's why, to Joshua's point, like marketing dollars may not go away, because the way the rule's written is carriers can't give money to incentivize a broker for a certain carrier. And I would argue that marketing dollars actually don't go towards marketing a carrier. They go towards marketing the agent. And then the agent helps the customer make an unbiased decision. Okay. But you should expect $75 to about $150, depending on the carrier, based on the last couple of years, normally around AEP and around OEP. Roy, it's a little bit different even now. It's a little bit different. And then, so that's the first thing, is transparency around those three things: commissions, marketing, and the level of support I should expect. The second thing is communication, and this is where it depends on which channel you go to. A marketing organization that has employees might turn off their phones at 6 o'clock. An agency or agency builder, we don't turn off our phones, right? If an agent calls us at 8 o'clock at night, I'm not watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, my wife. I'm talking to that agent for an hour, right? Same thing with controlled distribution. So to me, communication is huge. And by the way, I respect people that say, don't call me past 6. Like, I don't have those boundaries in my life. Wish I did, probably. But that's okay. Like, some people have that boundary, but I just want to know, communication, keep me up to date. And then the third thing for me is training. And when I say training, I want to know product training. I want sales training. I want marketing training. And it doesn't have to be digital marketing. Like I said, it could be any type of marketing. Give me 5 ways I can spend my time marketing, and give me 5 outlets for money, right? Whether that's lead vendors I can work with that perform, whether that's target leads that if I drop $5,000, I'm going to get this return on because you guys have other agents doing it. Like, those 3 things are so transparency, communication, and training. And also, where there's also a gap in the training is the business operations.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do I set up my business as a corp? So that how do I set up my agency? Like, I've come across people that want to sell a book of business, but they can't because they sell everything under their personal number and not a corporate number. And so, and selling a book's a good way if you want to grow your business to get some cash without selling any equity. And they can't do it because they weren't set up properly. So, those are my 3 things. But I know, Matt, you've got a lot of experience with this too. So I'm interested in yours.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Is the reason that I chose mine is because they're giving me something, like they're giving me business acumen that I don't have yet, right? They're giving me the insight of things that I need to do. Yes, I'm going to get a good contract and I'm going to get good marketing dollars and all those things, but they said this is how you should structure it moving forward. You should consider making a new LLC because these people want to partner with you, but you should make a new entity and give them 50% of the business and you own it, because you don't want to only earn $25 an app, put all your efforts into them, and then they blow up. At least you're hedging your bet. And that kind of conversation is way different than anything that I've had before, right? Those are the things that I did not know about. I know about building a distribution. I know about recruiting and marketing and training and all those different things. But that was the number one thing for me, is like, what are they teaching you? Like, are they pouring into you as a business owner and teaching you different things? Because insurance is a mighty river of money that flows into different streams of income. You're going to make a ton of money, right? Once you get to a certain level, like what tax advantages, like how do I get into real estate? How do I do these different things? Like those are things that I think are super important. Like, okay, you need to go buy a new office. You need to go do this and make sure that you're not paying a ton of taxes and that you're growing your business and increasing your EBITDA. So when you do sell, you're going to get the most amount of profit. Like those type of things are not really taught. And then when you get somebody that's teaching you those things, that is big for me. But training and transparency as well. Training,
Right. Like
transparency.
one business tip would be, if you have an agent that you as an LOA and they are leaving, instead of buying their book, like some people have a book of business with like agents that are working for them, residuals.
Yep.
Don't buy their book, give them a severance package, because a severance package is what we call an add back to your EBITDA, because it's a one-time expense, right? So that's just like a tip that, people don't realize, but like I've seen people unload 5 severance packages and add $500,000 of EBITDA. Well, you times that by 10, that's $5 million.
Correct.
Opposed to, oh, I have this liability of these book of businesses and most people that are leaving would much rather get the money up front regardless, because they're leaving, they're going to go do their own thing, or, they have a bad taste in their mouth. They don't trust that you're going to pay them anyway. But sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's like that. Those are the type of things that, other thing they told me is, make sure that you have your distribution that you're going to build. Like we all know this, but you need to build an LOA shop too. You need to build something that's going to pay you and you don't need many, 10, 15 agents.
Yeah.
Have 10, 15 agents and 5, and he's like, the money that you'll make is ridiculous. And guess what? And this is something I know, and we talked about LOAs earlier. People crap on LOAs, but there's many of the greatest agents out in the country. There's a guy that walked around Medicare Con that did 3,800 Medicare Advantage policies in a 3-year period, and nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows who that guy is. And he walked all over Medicare Con, and I'm like, no one knows who this guy is. And guess what? He was an LOA and one of the greatest producers in our industry, and nobody knows who that guy is. So
he might have been getting 20 leads a day, right? I mean, opposed to the average agent at home buying 5.
Exactly. And that's what he was saying. He was like, for me, he goes, it was easy. I just logged on and calls would come in. The leads were fantastic. And I would just sell, 4 or 5 a day. And he's like, it was easy for me. He made a ton of money. Could he have made more money elsewhere? But what he got from it was the training. And he got the sales.
I'd say this. So when I was at Transact, I was doing about 1,200 med subs a year. And now when I told everybody I got paid to get a master's degree in sales.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I got so many at bats. So I was meeting with actually Scotty Elliott, our chief distribution officer, coaches basketball with me, and his son's going to go to a school. And so the high school basketball coach, his son is 25, just graduated from FSU, and Scotty introduced me to him. We had lunch, and the guy's like this 25-year-old hungry kid, and he's like, I'm just sitting there listening, because I try to listen before I give advice, which I've gotten better at over the years. Because old Bobby's like, here's what you got to do, right? And then we get a little older and like we realize. But like I told him, I was like, look, I'd go work at our call center, right, and go get a master, get paid, go make $100,000 this year, get a master's degree in selling. Because there's 2 types of people that I've seen open up agencies: people that are really good at sales and people that are really good at business operations and operate. To me, in my experience, the people that are really good at ops, they have a chance of being successful, but the people that are really good at sales, they don't fail, because you can make up for deficiencies in the ops. You can learn as you go, which is kind of what you're saying, Matt. Like you can learn as you go on the business side, because if you can sell, you're generating revenue. If you can teach sales, you're generating revenue. I've seen op guys never find that guy that can go lead a sales floor, and they go get all this money raised, or they put their own money in it. And I've seen him fail because, so to your point, like there's no, like that guy's 3 years, you know, he's got a master's in sales. You know, at some point, you know, he can either stay where he's at, depending on his age, his situation, or, you know, he can go and try his own thing. And if he does, at least he's got the sales side down. Because if he did 3,800 yeses in 3 years, he got 7,000 no's.
That's exactly right.
Right. And that's 10,000 at bats more. And if you're an independent normal agent, you might do 400 presentations a year, maybe 200, you know?
Yep.
So
yeah. Same thing for me is like, I went about it like Joshua a little bit backwards. I helped build a very large distribution and vertically integrated a marketing department, do all these different things. But now I understand how to do all that stuff. Right. And so for now, it's like I got my PhD in all these different things. And I'm like, oh, I know exactly what to do now. I'm going to go do that. Right. And so I'm not upset I did it backwards. I mean, I was very blessed and got paid good money, but now it's time for me to go do the thing that I've been teaching other people to do. Yeah, because I've taught so many people how to do it. Yeah, because I've taught so many people how to do it. I know exactly what to do. And it's exciting at the same time. It's exciting. It's really exciting.
It is. If you go that direction, though. So if you decide to go LOA first to get your education, if you decide to be employee first to get your education, just know that's what you're getting. You're getting your education. And you're going to walk away from that. I walked away from at least 400 clients in an LOA when I switched to independent. So you're going to walk away from something you built, but you built it for someone else, with somebody else's money, on somebody else's dime, and somebody else's office, and somebody else's phone, with somebody else's internet. So just know you're getting your education that way, and that is the value of what you're getting. Because I was salty at first when I hit the feel like, why? Like those were mine. No, really, the education was was yours, and the business.
I've had that talk, Joshua, with a lot of agents. Hey, Bob, I'm going to go do this on my own. You know, is it cool if I contact the people that I enroll? I was like, dude, I paid $200 per every sale on that sale. Like, no, like that's not the game. You know, first of all, I always supported people going off, because I will tell you a lot of times they come back, but that's okay, because at least they tried it. I mean, this is hard. The first 2 years of this business is really, really hard.
Brutal.
It's really, really hard. The toll it takes on you and your family, financially. I mean, it's really hard. Like, it's not like everyone sees all the sexiness, like people that are in it for, once you get to 3 to 8 years, year 3 and 4, it gets pretty good. Yeah. Year 5, 6, 7, 8, like you're actually buying cool shit. But like the first 2 years, you're putting all your, you're just trying to survive. But yeah, like to your point, I get it. Like a lot of LOH is like, well, I enrolled them, but it's like, yeah, but you had a sales manager, I bought the leads, I bought the CRM and everything. So that's a good call out, and that's okay. Like that is that person's client. But last thing I'll say about that is, it is not a business plan to go build a big book on LOA and then call them and think you're going to get a bunch of them. I've seen people try to do that. 10% of them ever actually do it. Like will leave, and it just doesn't work out. Like if you're going to leave and go on your own, that's not a business plan. You need to figure out an actual business plan to be successful.
Mm-hmm. We had a couple of questions to get caught up on. We got Mr. Kevin. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. What do you expect from your upline as a top producer and marketing co-op? Well, I expect the going rate for what everyone else is getting. And so for me, I trust, and that's where it comes down. I trust my upline to tell me the truth. But the ace that I have up my sleeve is one of my best friends. His name is Frank the Tank, like I said, and he's going to tell me the truth whether you do or not. And so a lot of times, in fact, one of the main reasons I moved from my last upline was because what Frank the Tank was telling me and what they were telling me were like miles apart. They were telling me we can give you 10 grand for 5,000 apps in AEP. And I was being told by Frank, no, actually you should be getting like, if you're going to do 5,000, that'd be like $250,000 of marketing money. And so I was like, 10,000, $250,000. So, the truth that you have, you need a Frank the Tank, you need a Matthew Murray, you need a Medicare Bob in your life, someone who has no skin in the game, but other than to tell you the truth, because we care about this industry that's helped us all level our lives up in ways. Like every day I wake up, I kind of chuckle in some respect, like what the hell cheat code? The up, down, down, left, right. I figure whatever the hell that was out, and God blessed me in ways that I honestly I don't deserve, and so I try to pay it back as far and as fast as I can. Okay, we got kind of an off the wall question. What do y'all think Mike Tyson will do to Jake Paul? I already posted my little short video on this earlier, so I'll go real quick. I think it's going to be 45 seconds or less, and I think Jake Paul's going to get his head knocked off. That's what I think.
I hope so. I think that'd be great.
I don't even know who Jake Paul is.
I'd love to see Mike Tyson take a big blunt afterwards and smoke it with Jake while he's down on the ground. But here you go, bud.
100%. Yeah. Long story short, Murray, it's Mike Tyson's 59, and he's fighting a 27-year-old kid who thinks he's a boxer.
Well, dude, iron turns into steel, so he's steel Mike Tyson now. So he's an absolute unit.
So if the fight goes long, it's not good for Mike because it's kind of like I tell my sons, you have 2 minutes of fury that I'm going to bring to you that you got to survive. If you outlast it, then I'm dead. I admit it up front. You're going to get me. Let's see. When should you switch your commissions to your corp? That's a great question. So I did mine out the gate, but I had a long-term vision of building a team, and every successful agent I had ever mentored or worked with all did an S corp. So I just copied what I saw everybody else do. Honestly, I didn't consult anybody. But I'll give you a couple of pro tips. Number one, I would say it's probably better to be a sole proprietor until you hit about 100K, just because it's simpler and you could just download QuickBooks Self-Employed, and it's a really easy app to keep track of all that. Once you 100K or more, I would get a tax person in your life, I would get an accountant in your life, and I would get a bookkeeper in your life, because now it becomes about tax strategies more than just a tax preparer. And I did this way too late. I'm doing this now because this year, after my taxes were processed, I got notified that I'm going to have to pay like $45,000. And I don't like it. To me, I would have rather have given $45,000 to the food bank and then had that be a write-off, and then I'll have to pay that. So for me, I'm getting more cognizant about taxes too late. But it's a great question. I would do an S corp, and you got to make sure just calling yourself an S corp isn't it. There's a form that your accountant or yourself has to file with the IRS to create yourself as an S corp, because out the gate you will be a C corp unless you otherwise describe yourself. That's a great question. I would say 100K. What do you guys think?
Well, I'd say now. I mean, just
okay,
yeah. I mean, I would if me starting an agency, I would get my agency name. I would get it, and I'd make sure, if you're picking an agency name, make sure you can get the domain. Make sure you can, do all that. Get my domain name that matches my agency name, and then I would do an S corp or C corp, build as an S corp, like he said, and then I would be an LOA to my agency, because it's also for liability. If you were to ever get into a car accident, or if you ever have an employee that's suing you for anything, personally, if someone's suing you, your commissions are being assigned to the agency. Plus, if you ever do want to sell a book of business or sell your business down the road, it's better. I know it's like going to cost you an extra $300 a year, but just the liability, saving yourself from, having one, two extra drinks at dinner. You think you're fine, you hit something, and now you're getting sued and you lose all your renewals.
Good tax person is worth their weight in gold. That's all I'll say. Whatever, like I pay my person like $500 a month, and they save me way more than $6,000 a year. And so
tax lawyers are awesome, by the way. Tax lawyers too are different, and they don't typically. My understanding is the IRS doesn't even really mess with them, because they know, like it's not good. Josh, I did the same thing, bro. I was so lazy on like I just was paying taxes. I probably paid way more taxes than I should have. Like Justin told me he did something. Like I guess he's flying. By the way, he's flying private. I'll share this. I don't care. Yeah. He had a tax break to do like $200,000 of hours. So which is great, by the way. It's still awesome. And I'm like, why didn't I do that? And then instead of flying Southwest like I am tomorrow, because there's certain areas, like I'm going to Louisville for the Derby, and there's no real nonstops there except Southwest where I'm at. And so his tax lawyer told him that. And I'm like, man, I got to get smarter when it comes to that.
Yeah, man. This has been fun. I'm sure everybody wants us to keep going for another hour, but we've been at it for an hour. Let's see, we got one more. Can you move your book of business that's been written under your individual name to an LLC? Yeah, you just either sell it or transfer it to yourself, basically. But that's the other thing too. There's a big difference when it comes time to sell and cash out between having a book of business and having a business. That's like everybody always asks me, why did you name it Medicare Peace of Mind? I didn't want my name or anything. It's the value of the brand is worth more. And I learned that when the guy I was working for sold his agency originally. He made like an extra $65,000 to sell the name, the domain, the web address, and all this other dumb shit that ended up being worth nothing. But you just because you have a brand and a presence and you've established that brand, it's way more valuable than your name is. And because if you name the agency your name, and then they take you out of the business, how valuable is the business?
That's correct.
Well, even Danielle Kunkel does that, right? Like, I mean, Boomer Benefits, even though Danielle is Boomer. Like,
oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, and by the way, she's awesome. She's amazing.
100%.
Way
I noticed this back in the Mike Smith and the brokerage and all that. Yeah. Yeah. She's the guy I worked for was jealous of them when they came out with their websites and stuff.
Yeah, she's unbelievable. But to your point, you know, they can put a new Danielle in that place and still be Boomer Benefits. If it was Danielle Kunkel Insurance and Danielle, you know, wants to sell as an exit opposed to a partnership, that could be challenging because it's in her name. So yeah, it's super smart to have. I think what she's asking is Chris, Colorado. Yeah, I think Chris is asking, like, I think from her perspective, I'm guessing she has her book now. She wants to take our advice, get an LLC. So there's just a form that your FMO should be able to help you with, that you assign the commissions to that LLC once you open it. And you'll get 2 writing numbers, by the way. So the agency will have a writing number, and then you'll personally have a writing number.
Great questions. Yeah, man, this is fun. Maybe we'll have to do another one of these.
Yeah, thanks for letting me crash. Just so everyone knows, like, Joshua posted something online that he was going to do something about FMOs. And I haven't really had a chance to get to talk to Joshua that much, but I just sent him a Facebook message because I've been following your stuff. And I'm like, hey, I promise I'm not going to come and like pitch AmeriLife or anything, but I do have some thoughts on the industry, on the FMO stuff. Do you mind if I come on with you? And so thanks for letting me on. And Matt, I did get to see you briefly at Medicare Con. It was good to see you, man. Congrats on starting your agency, dude. I know you're going to be widely successful, man. You know what you're doing. So congrats.
I appreciate it, man. I went for the best branding opportunity I could, and the insurance platform is what I came up with. It's a little bit of an ode to my recent place. We call it America's first and only insurance platform, but I decided to go with the insurance platform because I thought that was pretty cool. So appreciate it.
That's bad. Let's see. One more. When would you use your agent number as opposed to your agency number?
So you use your agent number when you write personal production, but you use your agency number when you log into the carrier portal and you want to check your commission statements, or like, you know, your whole book of business if you have other downlines.
Yeah. You just make your agent number LOA to your agency.
Yeah. You assign all your commissions and all the business to your agency. You write under yourself and then your agency. It's the same thing as having an LOA. Only you are your first LOA.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. You're your first LOA, 100%. Which I always thought LOA, and Matt, you guys might know this, Josh, because I always thought LOA stood for like letter of assignment or something.
Is it
license? I have no idea.
It's license only agent. Yeah, no. The guy I worked for, we ran pretty much a heavy LOA shop, and so we called it a career or captive program back then. You can call it what you want. Basically, you work for someone else. They own all the money, and you get paid a piece of the pie for closing the deals.
License only agent though, but that's okay. Now I think I made this shit up. Like,
you heard it here first, guys. Medicare Bob had no idea what LOA actually meant.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of them, so I just
isn't that incredible?
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
What he can tell you is the money does go into your agency, so that's
Hey, I had contracting people, man. I probably did 10 years ago. All right,
100%.
But I think I made something up along the way. But awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for letting me crash, guys.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Top 1% podcast. We'll see you next Wednesday, and thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.